This is Good Morning San Diego.
Well, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has signed a bill that cracks down on squatters in Florida and protects homeowners. Here now to weigh in on the bill is licensed real estate broker Mark Powell. Mark, good morning.
Good morning, Lauren.
Thanks for being here. Well, let's talk about this issue of squatting. What we were seeing in Florida that was getting a lot of press was this issue of homeless individuals squatting in a home, basically commandeering an abandoned home or staying in there unbeknownst or unapproved from the property owner, with little or no action that they could take to get these individuals out of their home. Talk about what Governor Ron DeSantis has now done to quell this issue.
Well, in Florida, they had over 1,200 people squatting at one time. It made national news. So what Ron DeSantis did was he turned squatting into almost a trespassing violation. And the way it works is that the person enters the house without permission from the owner, doesn't have the right to be there, they break in, and if the owner goes there and says you need to leave and they don't leave, law enforcement can go in there now and remove that person. There is a caveat though, they cannot be a former tenant or renter in some type of legal dispute or claim of ownership. So if there's a court proceeding, they're not going to be thrown out, but if they just broke in, trespassed and squatted and stayed in the property, the law enforcement can kick them out.
And the governor has said that sheriffs from around the state will have support they need in order to help get that accomplished by, in some cases, physically removing the squatters. Absolutely,
and he made it a fine. It's a misdemeanor if law enforcement shows up there and they produce a fake lease. You know, sometimes they'll print a lease on the internet, they'll forge the owner's name on it and go, look, I have a lease. That's a misdemeanor. He also made it a felony if they're in the house and they cause over $1,000 worth of damage, and made it a felony if you falsely advertise a home for sale. Some people will go online and say, I'm the owner of this house, I'm going to rent it to you. Anybody who does that now can be charged with a felony.
Wow. Let's localize the story and talk about what the law is here in California, because we've heard of these squatting stories before, and it can be a real devastation to, you know, middle-class families that have sometimes found an investment property and going to use that as a source of revenue income later in life.
Lauren, you're 100% correct. Here's what San Diegans probably don't know. There's over 70,000 vacant homes in San Diego County at any one given time. There's over 10,000 homeless people in San Diego at any one given time. When a homeless person sees a house that's not occupied, what they'll do is they'll just move into the house. They'll claim some type of ownership. When the law enforcement goes there, they might have that fake lease and say, hey, no, I have the legal right to live here. And now it's a civil issue. The difference between trespassing and squatting is trespassing is a violation of the law. It's a criminal offense. So the California state legislature put in something called SB 602. 602 is a trespassing violation, the 602 of the penal code, which allows somebody to be arrested. Well, what they did was you can file a letter. It's called a letter of agency with any local law enforcement, and you can tell the law enforcement agency, no one's supposed to be in this house for up to a year. It used to be 1 month. SB 602 made it a year. So now if law enforcement goes to the house and there's signs posted that say no trespassing, they can remove that person and not have to go through a lengthy court battle about this.
So what would you advise homeowners in California to do if they have an empty home?
First thing I'd advise them to do is file that 602 letter with law enforcement. It's also called the letter of agency. Second, I would recommend putting an alarm system in the house. So if somebody does break into the house, they're notified. For example, I have an alarm system on my house and I have cameras. So if somebody's entering my house, I can see it. The one thing that you have to caution people is not to confront the squatters, because oftentimes they're armed, sometimes they're on drugs. They could put themselves in a very dangerous situation. Some type of confrontation could happen and someone could get hurt.
Yeah, obviously they're not law-abiding citizens when they're breaking into an abandoned home and making it their own.
Yes.
All right, Mark, well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.